your #1 local TV station. News, sports, and weather. Bartow News 1 starts now.
Good morning, everyone, and happy President's Day. We are live in the Booth Western Art Museum right here in the heart of Cartersville, Georgia. If you don't already have plans, we want to invite you to be a part of a one-of-a-kind, unique experience where you can focus on our display of the U.S. presidential history. From George Washington all the way up to Donald Trump, there is truly something for everyone. And joining me now is the historian of this museum, Jim Dunham.
And I am delighted to have you here today. It's going to be a bully day, and if you can't tell from that, I happen to be dressed up and presenting myself today as Teddy Roosevelt.
I absolutely love it, and I have to tell you, someone who's not from this area, I am absolutely blown away by the size and magnitude of this museum.
It's 120,000 square feet. It is actually the largest museum space devoted to the American West paintings and sculpture anywhere in the United States. Isn't that interesting?
That is absolutely incredible. And if you're ready, I'd love for you to give us an idea of what we can see when we come out here.
Well, first of all, there are two museum galleries that are not related to cowboys and Indians in the frontier. One of those is the Art of the Civil War, and the other one is the one we're talking about today, which are the hand-signed letters of every president of the United States. Everybody who has ever served as President of the United States is exhibited here at the Booth Western Art Museum. And the largest painting in the museum is the one that's behind us. And that particular museum piece was done by Ross Rawson, who actually was born and raised in Bulgaria. And if you look at that, you'll see that there's a lot of presidents standing there, or sitting there, standing and sitting, and they are in the White House, and those are the presidents that served during the 20th century. And so none of the more recent presidents, the last three presidents, are in the painting, because when the painting was done, they weren't president yet. And then also, there are two presidents that are only represented by the portrait images. If you look up on the far left, there's a portrait of George Washington, and there's a portrait of Abraham Lincoln. So they're represented that way. Everybody else that was served as president is portrayed in the painting, and I've told many people, I've said, if you go to Washington and you visit the White House, you can see that room. You can see the red carpet, you can see the chandelier, you can see the columns, and you can see everything. If you see those guys sitting there, you need some serious medical help. You definitely have a problem. But it's a great painting. It's the largest painting that we have in the museum, and Ross Rawson just wanted to express his love for America and for his appreciation of our political system. So he did a painting of every president of the United States that served during the 20th century. He is also the sculptor of the Hank Aaron sculpture that's in front of the new baseball stadium. So
that's incredible, and I understand he actually lives in Atlanta.
Yeah. And so it really is a kind of a good fit, and it's really been wonderful to have that. And it probably is one of the most striking paintings that we have in the image in the museum. But should we go look at some letters?
Absolutely. Let's do it. Now, no, they're following us into the museum here, but I have to tell you, I mean, this is something you've got to see in person. Even the live picture up there is bigger than live, something that you'd have to come see.
And on the third Thursday of the month, we have special lectures and talks. So there's stuff going on all the time.
Wow.
And today, being President's Day, we're talking about our presidents. The very first person to serve as President of the United States was, as everybody knows, George Washington. But here's the exciting part. We not only have a display area for George Washington, we have an original hand-signed letter written by George Washington. That entire letter was written by George in his lifetime, and you can come here and read these letters. We have special lighting. These are not facsimiles. These are not copies. These are the actual original letters. So we have very special museum lighting to make sure that we don't get into problems and make the letter be deteriorated. And then we have an information sheet about the president. Tells some of the things, like, for example, it tells when he served from 1789 to 1790. 1797 tells a little bit about his life. And then we happen to have a printed or typed version of the letter because, let's face it, some of that handwriting is hard to read, especially in order to save the expensive paper. They wrote very, very small, very, very tight. And so George Washington, of course, was our first president. After George Washington, then, of course, John Adams became president. And John Adams was president from 1797 to 1801. And we have then an original hand-signed letter from John Adams. He, of course, has information about his information about here. He was the first president, for example, to live in the White House. And so we have a piece of information. We happen to have then a typed version of the letter, so it's easier to read. When we have images of the president before photography, what we have is a photograph of a portrait, of an oil portrait or a painting. And then after we get into the areas where photography is available, we will have an image that's a photograph image of the president. When we get into, from Truman on to about the first George Bush, all the photographs were taken by Joseph Karsh, who is one of the most famous portrait photographer of his lifetime, and they are magnificent portraits. And I think what we should do now, since we looked at the first two presidents, let's go look at the last couple presidents, the last three presidents.
Sounds fantastic. So from George Washington, John Adams, on to George.
And of course, all of the room has a case for every single president of the United States. By the way, there are 4 cases that aren't filled with presidential letters right now, which means we have room for 4 more presidents before we run out of space, and then we're going to have to do something else. During this time, though, while we're waiting for more presidents, that's filled with memorabilia. And we happen to have some various things that the presidents had or things that relate to early America. One of the things we have is a collection of early paper money. And paper money in the early days was much larger than today. But here's one of the most exciting things. We have a $1 bill from 1896. Do you know who's on the $1 bill?
I do not.
Martha Washington.
Oh.
We have a $1 bill from the 1800s with a woman on the money. Isn't that great?
That is fantastic.
Okay. So George Bush wrote his letter on letterhead stationery from the White House. He wrote his letter to the Booth Western Art Museum. We were just opening up. See, he was president from 2001, 2009. We were just opening up. We just got started, and he was congratulating the museum on the fact that we had now a brand new museum that was going to feature Western art and have political images as well. So that's really exciting. And then, of course, the last 2 presidents have also followed suit, and they have done the same thing, and they have written their letters to the museum. So if you look at Barack Obama, who was president from 2009, 2017, his is also on letterhead stationery, White House stationery. And the only difference between this image here and the other ones is we now have color photography. So we have a Newsweek cover that actually is not just in black and white, although in order just to have consistency through the whole museum, we have a black and white photograph of President Barack Obama. And just recently, not too long ago, we received our letter from President Trump. President Trump also has his letterhead stationery, the White House letterhead stationery, and he signed his letter with his very distinctive, large, almost like a painting in itself, kind of like an abstract painting. And but that's exciting because we definitely have had some wonderful response from people who come and read these letters. Some of the letters are fluffy and humorous. Some of the letters are very, very serious. Our most important letter probably is our Lincoln letter that deals with the American Indian Uprising, in which a lot of people were killed and there had to be some trials. I think my favorite letter is a letter by Millard Fillmore, who most people don't consider their favorite president, but he talks about how the people that are investing his money are in trouble because the stock market is falling. And I think that's a very interesting letter. Could have been written this afternoon. Let's go look at the $1 bill that I was talking about. This $1 bill right here is actual U.S. currency, and it was from 1891, and it shows that the image on the $1 bill is Martha Washington, first woman to appear on American United States currency.
Absolutely incredible.
Starting today at 10 o'clock, from 10 o'clock until 5 o'clock, the museum is open. Anybody wants to come and enjoy the museum. And, of course, we're open every day except normally Mondays. We normally are closed Monday. But because this is President's Day and we have lots of children coming and lots of school groups coming, we're going to have all day. We're going to have visiting presidents. We have myself, Teddy Roosevelt, and then we have George Washington, who's going to show up and visit with the young people when they come and talk about his career and his life. I'll talk about the teddy bear, because that's one of my favorite things. And then, of course, from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, we have special programming for kids and for the groups. But it really, you can stay all day if you want. If you just want to come through and walk and read some letters and walk around, 20 minutes, half hour is fine. But if you want to see everything, you're probably going to need about 3 hours to take in the whole museum.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jim. We really appreciate your time. And just to reiterate, if you want to come out here to the Booth Western Art Museum, it is open till 5. Give yourself about 2 hours if you do want to read all these letters. I highly recommend you get involved because this is stuff you cannot find in your history books or on the World Wide Web. You have to come right here to the Booth Museum in Cartersville, Georgia. I'm Heather Higginbotham with Bartow News 1.